To write about a place is to write about an attitude, a state of mind, a form of acceptance or rejection. To write about the part of London you put up with, live in, are resigned to, and don't want to escape from, is to write about yourself. Writing a play isn't inventing, but remembering. Remembering the exact shape of the words that died away round the corner. Here, in the Hampstead I know best, the obstinate and the exiled search for a divan and a gas ring and man their isolated pockets of resistance. A place like this can't be imagined, it has to be lived in and learnt by heart. This is the high northwest area where buses refuse the gradient, from where the lush lowlands of Knightsbridge and the swamps of Chelsea seem like another world. Far away, electric egg whisks are purring in the bright, higher-purchase kitchens of Kilburn. In Hendon, the dentists shout gaily to each other as they polish their cars on Sunday mornings. But here, home is wherever you can find to pin up your postcards and illegally empty your tea leaves in the upstairs lavatory. Here, the advertisements are the map of a cold country where conditions are often hostile to human life. Here the brisk, bright, together world pauses for a moment dismayed, and the landscape for a writer is peopled with figures in isolation. Houses which once had children scampering like mice in the nurseries, fat, gin-filled cooks singing drunk in the basement, now have 12 front doorbells, each with a labelled name. A house of separate people with unconnected memories who come to be known by the strange and inconvenient things they do when left alone in a room. Here, Mrs. Grundle lays out the cards and waits for someone to make up a four, while upstairs, Mr. Manescu runs through his repertoire. Miss Priest, thesis accurately typed, manuscript duplicated, rubs her fingers and bashes away at page 400 of a sensitive study of adolescence, destined to bump its way around 20 indifferent publishers in the spring. This is the Northwest Passage, a cold part of the journey. The part of London, I thought, to set a play about people whose lives have reached a point where the end and the beginning seem equally remote. The cars of the rich, who live in distant turreted mansions by the heath, pass down these long streets without stopping. They are the streets for waiting, where the actor on the top floor endlessly waits for the telephone and climbs out of bed when it rings for the man downstairs, and takes a look, and then goes back to a hard period of rest.
What? What's that? Fine. 4:30. Okay. I'll see you there.
Where one house contains innumerable musicians waiting to become quartets, cellos in the abandoned nurseries, violins in the maids' bedrooms, the ground floor let out to the brass. At night, the fugues revolve, merciless and perpetual as dentist drills, over a place which seems to me to care more for Haydn than for spin dryers, more for the mist on the heath than gracious living, where you find the money to take out a girl by selling 10 old volumes of Thomas Mann in the bookshop over the tube station, and where basement love exists on cups of tea and rye bread. For the young, the afternoon can be a lifetime, undisturbed, a pause for breath until you become busy or successful, when time stands still as you hold hands in the long queue for another festival of the early silent screen. The queue is serious, liking their films old, flickering, and significant, intent on the coming struggle to liberate the serfs or destroy the Babylonian Empire. Coffee is for communication between people who live alone and use words to relentlessly pursue their views on musical notation, the science of handwriting, the situation in Berlin, or the prospects of a small plastic toy factory set up in one room off the Finchley Road. Pleasure is the memory of old concerts and the temptation of another apple strudel and whipped cream. Unless you're enough in sympathy to share half a pint by the dark ponds on the Vale of Health, to listen to the arguments of the students of sociology and the distant scurry of ducks over the water, until time is economically called at 11 o'clock. When you're 17 in Hampstead, the afternoon is for love and the evenings for modest drinking and deciding about the future of humanity or the existence of God. And when you're old and living in Hampstead, a pub is where you bring your dog and pour out for it a small saucer of mild beer.
Afternoon, eh? I've written 3 letters today. 3 letters today I've written. Which isn't bad, is it?
The isolated outposts are continually threatened. The flats are spreading and the thin basement houses being pulled out like bad teeth. Chain shops are beginning to hide the bulging walls and deserted gardens. In the glittering self-service, the former professor of moral science at Bonn University takes his single chop a long walk in a wire wheelbarrow, displays it at the cash desk, and pays for it with difficulty. But behind the splendor of the self-service store, there are still the long streets. There are houses which are still held intact, where Miss Haviland boils her egg and comforts her Pekingese. She keeps her curtains drawn in case the picture should all fade and the colors leave the Chinese tapestries in despair. Her life is preserved against the intrusion of lovers, Indian barristers, and string quartets. Around here, I remember, Dick Turpin jumped the toll gate, and Wilkie Collins met the woman in white in a dark country lane on the way to St. John's Wood, and by the station Ruth Ellis shot her lover, and Keats heard the nightingale in the woods somewhere near the public baths, where the shrill, chip-eating Saturday morning film club children of the foothills mix with the neat, blazered children from the top of the hill, well fed on milk and the best theories, their faces washed and their complexes neatly arranged. So to write a play, I started with this place, where people are isolated on the wrong side of the park. I wrote it how and when the area let me. I don't expect it to be grateful.